providing unique reporting on markets and companies since 1990. This is the Korelin Economics Report.
Welcome in to another daily editorial recorded live from the floor of the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. I'm Cory Fleck, and I am sitting down with a regular guest on the show, Jayant Bhandari. Jayant, I always appreciate your insights on the gold market, but also on India. You do a lot of research, and you've actually been in India for a couple months, not that long ago. You visit there regularly, and there's a lot of news that doesn't seem to be getting covered in regular media, at least in North America, even in India, you were telling me. Take us through some of the issues that you're seeing in India right now that people should be aware of.
Thanks for having me, Cory. Even today, this is almost the end of January. The lineups outside banks are huge. People still cannot get cash that they have in their bank accounts. So they line up early in the morning at the banks, and there is no necessarily guarantee that they will get the cash that they want out of the banks. Now, even if they can get it, there is an upper limit on how much cash that they can take out of the bank accounts. The problem is that 90 to 95% of Indian consumer transactions are cash-based, which means that all these cash-based businesses are failing because they can't get the cash from the banks to pay to their workers. These banks are failing, the poor people are losing their jobs. When poor people are losing their jobs, they can't buy food. Food prices have crashed in the company. Farmers are actually dumping their produce, and actually I have also started hearing that they're destroying their crop. This is a cascading effect. We can't really know where this will end and what the future holds for India, but I have heard no one telling me anything positive about the consequences. Anything between 20 to 80% of businesses' revenues are down right now. So it's a massive negative effect on the Indian economy.
Now, let's focus on the Indian economy, because we even look at, I believe the IMF has a forecast of 7% growth for India coming up. That just doesn't seem to make sense with what you're saying.
This is so strange, Cory. I don't know where they get their number from. Last week they revised their figure down from 7.6 to 7 or 6.5 or something. Positive growth per year, which still makes it a very high growth country growth rate country, according to them. And I completely disagree with them, because wherever I see in India, I recently spent a lot of time in India. I traveled around the country, and there is not one place in the country where I see growth happening. Everywhere it's either stagnation or destruction of the economy. So I'm expecting negative growth, anything between 10 to 20, 30%. This is a massively bad thing that happened for the Indian economy.
That's hugely negative growth if it is negative 10, negative 20, even negative 30%. But what kind of global repercussions do you see this having?
Well, this can easily kill millions of people, if not tens of millions of people. The sad thing is, Cory, that India is a nobody. No one cares about India. It is an economic non-entity, so no one worries much about what happens in India, which is the sad thing about Indians. India is an extremely poor and wretched country, and it will stay that way, unfortunately. I don't see global repercussions of any of this, but India will continue to get worse by the day, in my view.
Now, what about in terms of the gold market? Because we are at a resource conference here, and when you do talk to a lot of the people, there was, let's say a couple of years ago, everyone was pointing to China and India as being huge drivers to the gold market. What's going on in India now in terms of gold demand, gold prices? What are you seeing on the streets?
So savers exist in chronic anxiety today. They are very afraid of the government. The government has become a police state. It's a fascist country today, and they are very afraid of the rapacious tax authorities. I don't know what's happening with the gold market, because all the gold market has gone underground. people are not trading at the street level anymore because tax authorities are guarding the gates of and doors of the gold jewelry shops these days. So people are very afraid of buying gold and silver openly. But my view is that, and based on talks that I have had with people are actually exploring the possibility of converting their rupees into American dollars or British pounds or euros, and also into gold. And I know that many Indians are looking at the possibility of starting to store gold in countries outside India. So people will still buy gold. There might be a problem for a few months. If there's a problem, I don't know.
So essentially you are just seeing capital flow out of the country, though. This is the overwhelming trend that you think is only going to further continue?
Absolutely, because India is a negative yielding economy. It has always been negative yielding economy. Investing in India makes no sense. I don't invest in India, and I advise my clients not to invest in India. By forcing people to pull their money out of the informal economy, Indian government has actually made it even more difficult for people to earn a return from their investments. So yes, there will be a capital flow outside the country. The only issue there is that Indians are very inward looking. They don't think outside the country. They have a very strong fear of foreigners. So I don't know how much of this money will flow out of the country, but the problem is that people are extremely fearful, which means that they will be buying a lot of gold because they don't really have a choice apart from buying gold. Exactly the reason why they have always bought gold in the past as well.
So do you see this trend or the Indian investment culture in general impacting the gold market as we move through this? If we are truly in a bull market, will they continue to chase the price up?
Indians will probably not chase the price up. They look for cheap price to buy gold at. But also the problem, Cory, right now is that even if their interest in gold goes up, and I think their interest in gold has gone up substantially, because remember, Cory, when I last talked with you, gold was close to $3,000 per ounce. Now it's back to normal, but for a week or so, gold was extremely expensive in India. There was desperation among people to buy gold. People are interested in buying gold. The problem is, if the economy crashes, people might not have the surplus to buy gold anymore. So that is the big risk there.
Okay, so we will have you back on the show to follow, I guess, how the economy is doing, and if it does continue to, let's say, really disappoint the IMF numbers, then maybe it will hit the news a little bit more. But essentially it sounds like what you're saying is that you just really can't even trust any of the numbers that come out of India in terms of either their economic growth or their gold market.
Yes, you cannot trust any numbers coming out officially. Most of the gold comes through smuggling anyway, so no one really knows how much gold is actually being consumed, and most of the gold at the street level is sold without receipts. So you don't know where the gold is coming from. IMF people and a lot of these organizations go with official numbers, and you don't even know how many poor people will die from this demonetization that India is doing, because those people will be from the informal sector, and they are the people who don't get counted, they don't get accounted in the system. So yes, you can't trust much that comes from the official space.
All right, there you have it. Jayant Bhandari. We definitely will be following up with this as more news stories develop. I will also be sharing links to all of the posts that you are writing currently for India and what they are going through. So I thank you for your time, Jayant.
Thank you very much, Cory.